Real Chat, episode 0.0. My name's Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here today by good friend Brose Avard. How are you, Brose?
Doing very, very well. And you're doing very well so far too.
Always, mate. You
Excellent.
said as I arrived this morning, you said that I was a little bit too enthusiastic for 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, you know, my partner asked if you're an on-time guy. It turns out you're a 10 minutes early guy, so that's good to know. But I love greeting people in my pyjamas, so it worked out quite well for me.
That's exactly right, mate. Let's talk a little bit about this show, what we hope the show will become, and what people can expect from it
In the coming weeks.
In the coming weeks, that's right. Look, I think the whole point of this, Brose, is reaching out to that niche market out there of film fans and the entertainment of movies, and what makes the whole experience of going to the movies and rewatching films as well.
Just moving a little bit away, I guess, from being overly analytical from a nerdy perspective and more about the entertainment value of film. And that's what it's about. Cinema's about enjoying yourself. One of the pleasures I've learnt in recent years is how much fun is it to go to see a big film in a big cinema filled with people. A lot of people say, I don't go to the cinema because I don't like, there's too many. It's like, that's where you're supposed to enjoy it. That's what it's about.
Particularly in this day and age with home entertainment pretty much taking over the cinema experience for a lot of people as well.
Yeah, and there are plenty of films I'm quite happy to sit at home on my own and watch over and over again. But, if you're going to go and see a film, it's great to enjoy it with other people that are enjoying it. Get back to the basics. During the Depression, the cinema was the escapism of the era. And we need to get back to that because you can't sit at home and enjoy a film as much as you can enjoy it in a cinema. And
there is a niche for this, and a big point of us putting this together is to try and reach out to those people who do enjoy listening to material such as this and
That's right.
analysing film and reviewing them, but from the perspective of that entertainment value, which I think is very important.
That's right. And there'll be plenty of nerdy talk as well, don't worry about that.
There'll be plenty of nerd. I think that's part of it.
There'll be plenty of that, don't worry about that. So what are we going to cover?
Okay, so I think finding the balance between new releases and what I'm going to refer to as the vintage vault as well, like classics.
The vintage vault.
Absolutely. I'm hoping that the show can become a balance between the two.
The challenge will be talking about classic films or older films, but yet stopping Adam from talking about Back to the Future constantly. So
Yeah.
that's the big challenge for the rest of us.
It's not going to be episode 1, I can promise you that.
I reckon there'll be a reference to Back to the Future in pretty much every episode.
But that goes without saying. That's okay.
I apologise for saying it.
That's okay. That's okay. But I'm telling you, it won't be episode 1, but it won't be part of the pilot series that we're going to do anyway. But I guess that brings me to my next point, which is if we are going to look at an old classic franchise like Back to the Future.
Oh, what a coincidence that
I could have used any example off the top of my head then. But if we are going to look at some of those classic franchises, it's about when is the right time to look at them again. So, for example, I hope to God this never happens, but if there ever was a Back to the Future 4...
Oh, that could be bad.
I guarantee you it
Although
would be
I'm
bad.
pretty sure Eric Stoltz is available. So if they are planning on doing a fourth one, Eric Stoltz has got his hand up. That's good.
I don't think he's the busiest actor in Hollywood at the moment.
No,
but if we are going to look at an old franchise, as I said, it would be really good to tie it in with the present, something or another. And that was one of the ideas that you actually brought up, Brose, was
Absolutely.
actually...
And it's great now because it seems every film is having an anniversary at the moment. Who would have thunk it? So that's definitely a good way to keep things current. But plenty of anniversaries coming up.
But I think that balance between new releases, because I think that, if we are going to create a show like this, I think that we should always look at the new releases and the films that are relevant of the present, but also going back into this so-called vintage vault and looking at a lot of the classic films that...
Absolutely.
As big reason as to why people like you and me are film fans, of course. If the show gathers momentum as well, it can branch off into a couple of other areas which interest us as well. Video game specials or interviews with key people might be something that we
Might have a look at.
Might have a look at, definitely.
If people want to talk to us.
That could be really interesting, and some industry people and the like.
Yeah, so we hope to bring you those at some point.
Definitely.
In the future.
Definitely. Someone brought up recently, Brose, the relevance of spoilers. I think that if we're going to review...
Do we have spoiler rules?
New releases, I haven't quite worked that out yet. Older movies, I think that they should be full of spoilers, because I don't think that people are going to be listening to shows about older films who haven't seen them before. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, it just depends. We all know the twist at the end of
Sixth Sense?
Sixth Sense, don't we? Like, we don't have to tiptoe around that. We all know how Hitchcock's films finish, don't we? We know the end of Psycho. We don't have to tiptoe around that.
we'll discover that balance in time about what the best approach is. But I think that, like, particularly with the Vintage Vault reviews, I think that, you know, they should be full of spoilers. I mean, I think the people that will be listening to them would have seen the film anywhere between 1 and 50 times, I'm pretty sure.
50 times?
Maybe.
How many times have you seen Back to the Future? Have you lost count?
It's over 50.
It's well over 50.
It's definitely over 50.
That's okay.
Film specs, such as the film's budget and box office, its home video or digital releases like DVD, Blu-ray, digital download. A legal download, I don't think will quite go into that so much.
There are some stats on that, so we can dig something up about it.
How many times a film's been downloaded for free?
Yeah, there are stats on that. It's worth checking that out. If we can find it.
If we can find it. Yeah. The score and soundtrack, I mean, that's a big interest of mine. It's film
definitely.
music and the like. And, you know, there's a lot to say about a lot of classic film composers and the specific soundtrack releases that are associated with some of these movies as well. We could talk a little bit about that. The director and the crew, I mean, there's always a lot to talk about with the director. A lot of people have a lot of strong things to say.
I have a lot of opinions on grips and best boys, so we'll be covering off on that, I think.
I think they're really undervalued.
Yeah,
to really make
a quality film has usually a really good grip, you know, like a really strong grip. So, you know, we'll be looking into that. I have no idea. I mean, it's not likely.
The cast as well. A lot of people who aren't specifically really into film as well, they always have a lot to say about a cast, and a lot of people associate a movie. They will go and see a film based on a cast member.
You know, this is something that's this is a little bit more specific than general. This is a question that fascinates me when it comes to casting. At what point do we go to see an actor who's great because they embody a character, and at what point do we just go and see the actor? When was the last time Tom Cruise actually acted in a bloody film? As opposed to it just being Tom Cruise irritating the crap out of me. Like, you know what I mean? And Brad Pitt's the same. There are a lot of actors like that. It's curious. Anyway.
It's like me with a lot of films by Arnold Schwarzenegger, particularly in this recent comeback since the end of his political reign as well. I will see these movies. He's done 3 flops since he's come back as well.
Has he done 3 films already?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
There was Last Stand.
Punched them out pretty quickly, didn't he?
Last Stand, Escape Plan, and Sabotage was the recent one. But
wow. I didn't know
that's the thing. I will watch these movies even though they're.
Have you seen all 3?
I haven't seen Sabotage yet.
Wow,
but,
not yet.
Not yet. I'll see it because he's in it. But that's an example. I mean, right. I know that I'm getting myself, I'm setting myself up for disappointment, but I see them because of him, and that's what a lot of people are like.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Last Action Hero is not so bad, is it?
Something's amazing. It's actually not that bad. That film's got a bad rep. But it's not as bad.
Not as bad as Sabotage, mate.
Yeah. Trivia and frequently asked questions. That's where you can get into the real nuts and bolts of a film. And if you dig deep with some of that stuff, you can get some really interesting anecdotes and the like, definitely. Which is something that I'm definitely interested in. Now, sound clips and quotes, and I made a mention here on our notes without reliance. A lot of podcasts that I've listened to, they rely on this. They play a lot of clips from like movies and TV shows, and But I found that's not.
We need to film 10 minutes, so here's 8 minutes of audio from the
just
film.
about. It's a filler, and it's like talk about a particular part of a film or a particular quote or something like that. It might be relevant to play it just before we have a bit of discussion. But I definitely don't want this show to become
clip
heavy because I'm telling you now, a lot of podcasts are, and they're not entertaining. Alternate versions and deleted scenes with films as well. This can always create quite an interesting discussion because some people are quite fascinated by what gets cut out, and the general argument is always...
Although, one of my pet hates is when they do a DVD release of a film and they'll put deleted scenes back in, and that's the only version of the film you can watch.
Oh, the unrated version.
And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, but the pace is out and the energy's different.
Like, what's that all about?
Unrated's a little bit different because it can just get a bit... I saw an unrated one recently. It was great. It was fine. But just don't put in a big 8-minute scene because it got deleted. If it's taken out because it ruins the flow of the film, leave it out and let me watch it in context as an option, not as the only way.
It's a marketing thing. That's the only thing I can put it down to. But I hate the way you don't get the choice. That really grinds.
I want the choice. Give me the choice.
Yeah. Is it really that hard?
Give me the choice.
I mean, seamless branching has been around since DVDs came in. So, I mean, is it really that hard? So, and really, let's be honest, bros. 95% of the time, the theatrical release is always the best version of a film.
Most of the time. Yeah, absolutely. There are exceptions, but most of the time that is the best version.
The Abyss is the ultimate exception, by the way.
And Blade Runner, of course.
Blade Runner, big one. Yep, definitely.
Yeah. And we're talking about two of the greatest directors of all time. So
I'm sure both Blade Runner and The Abyss will get a look in on this show at some point as well.
Very good chance.
This is something you brought up, Brose, commentary tracks. Now,
I'm a sucker for a good commentary.
right. So what makes a good commentary track?
Well, it's got to be informative. Or it's got to be hilarious. So it just depends on what you're looking for.
I've heard some god-awful ones.
Most commentary tracks are bad, and when DVD first came out, that's what blew me away the most, is I just wanted commentary tracks.
I think it was a selling point when DVDs came out.
It was a big selling point. But there are some very good commentary tracks out there. There's some very average ones, and then there's some very entertaining ones. So I've watched quite a lot of commentary tracks, and I'm looking forward to getting back into commentary tracks. But it'll be nice to point out to people which ones are actually worth
spending.
Actually, here's a surprising one. Bring It On.
You mentioned this to me the other day.
Did I mention it the other day? Bring It On has a remarkable commentary track. The director, it's one of his first films, like his first 2 or 3 films, and he's passionate and he's energetic, and it actually makes you like the film more when you get his energy associated with it, and then when you watch it without his commentary, that energy kind of sits around. So that's just an obscure example. There are plenty of other great commentary tracks out there as well.
Do you find you get an extra appreciation?
Yeah, you kind of, especially for something that seems like a very simple cookie cutter film, that seems like a very kiddie genre film, to hear the decisions that he was making as a director and the things that they did to push through. And you've still, even if it's a genre film, you've got to make it visually exciting. That film was a big hit, so you've got to keep that energy up. And so hearing him talking about it from a passionate position, it's really cool. It's very magnetic. It's good.
Yeah, I think if we review older films or newer films, and if the commentary track that's available on the Blu-ray or the DVD is of real note and really worth listening to, we might make a point.
I'm going to start generating a list of my top commentary tracks. The Ghostbusters commentary track is exceptional as well. So
the one with the late great Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, yeah, and Ivan Reitman, who's a genius.
I remember on the DVD as well, they actually had a little extra feature with the commentary where they actually had like little outlines.
The silhouettes,
The silhouettes, yeah. Which was
when
removed.
I watched it, the silhouettes never kept up. So at one point, one of the guys would point at something, but they wouldn't match up with it was...
It was a good little idea. I can't ever recall any other DVDs.
I don't know anyone that's ever done it since. So, if someone does know, though, let us know.
Let us know. Academy Awards and other awards. We'll touch a little bit on that, I think. But other awards as well, because the Academy Awards are obviously the most glorified awards ceremony. But there are a lot of other awards out there, and a lot of films have got awards of note that we should probably let people know about. Also, a little bit of a section that I was hoping you might be able to help out with regularly, Brose, is the gaming tie-in or collectibles section, which I'm hoping
Absolutely.
You're the collectibles guy.
I'll tell you what, the 30th anniversary of Ghostbusters has flooded the market with Ghostbusters collectibles, and it's just about going to bankrupt me.
If we are going to look at a franchise, each guest can sort of give their opinion on what a franchise cut-off point is.
Yeah.
Because people can be very opinionated about what chapters of a franchise are worth seeing and which ones aren't. Let's be honest, most franchises have been ruined by that 1, 2, 3 sequels too many. It might be quite a bit of fun to sort of give our opinions about a particular franchise, like one like Star Wars jumps to mind because of the fact that...
Well, Star Wars gets really interesting all of a sudden, doesn't it? 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, it was kind of cut and dried. There were 3 good films and 3 rubbish films, but now there's 3 more films on the way. Anyway, who knows at this point?
If we do a Han Solo spin-off, they're going to have to get moving because Harrison Ford is not getting any younger.
He's only got so many limbs. The great thing about franchises is it's very subjective, and people, our guys will have strong opinions on that, so it's going to be fun to hash that out a bit.
Also, on franchises as well, something that my good mate Michael Hadgen, who's going to be one of the guests on the show, regular guest, I think, in time, he came up with a really good idea for the show, which is something new, which is the hypothetical sequels discussion, which we could talk about when we do discuss a franchise, which is, I mean, the best example I can give right off the bat is, like, if you take, like, the Alien series, and... a lot of people regard 1 and 2 as being, classics of the genre, but then the series sort of, falling apart. Deteriorates after that. If there was another Alien 3, because in this day and age...
Oh, wow, what a great idea.
If there was an...
So instead of rebooting a series, let's just reboot the sequel and start again and go off in a new direction.
It's like Alien 3... Again, like as in, like even though we've got Alien 3, 4, and we've got those crossover Alien versus Predator movies and the like, the hypothetical sequel, like what would
pick up after the second Alien film and just keep going?
Yeah, so I guess that might tie in nicely to the franchise cutoff point where you've got like, okay, well, this is where I would cut off.
Hollywood hasn't thought of this yet.
No.
This is a dangerous idea to float out into the public consciousness.
We've been talking about this for a while.
There's an executive somewhere who's going to go, yeah, let's just pick it up from 3. Let's go again.
I guess.
There's money. What's Sigourney doing? Let's have a crack.
I guess the risk there is that if you fail again, you look like an absolute twat. I guess
but you might be able to get Ridley Scott back.
Prometheus. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. No case in point.
Yeah. So hypothetical sequels might be a really interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Alien 3, the courtroom drama. That's what I want to see. Ripley versus the company, the Weyland-Yutani company. That's what
Are they going to bring the alien in as a witness? Or
that's it. Might be able to create some interesting discussion there.
Yeah,
We'll see how we go.
Yeah, I like it.
So, in regards to the people you're going to hear on a regular basis, there's myself, Adam Stolfo, sort of working a bit of a host role, I guess, sort of steering the conversation.
He's our captain, no captain.
Brose Avard, the other gentleman you're listening to here today, regular co-host and commentary and collectibles guru. I've put down here as a guy.
Sure,
but,
sure. I don't know. Guru's underselling it, I think.
Underselling
Deity, I think. No, okay, that's fine.
Hate to undersell you there, bros.
That's fine.
But, Andrew McCaskill, who's a good friend of mine, regular guest, and he's the soundtrack guy as well. And other ones you're going to hear in time, and hopefully on the pilots in the next couple of episodes. Matt O'Neill, who's a good mate of Andrew's. He's the horror guy, bros. He's going to be the horror expert. We look at horror movies.
That's a big gap in my film knowledge, horror. So.
Yeah, so he might be able
Except slasher films of the 80s, which were brilliant.
Oh, God, yeah.
But, yeah, cool. That's nice.
So we might be able to, he might be a really valuable with those episodes, but has also displayed interest in the others. But I think he's going to be the horror guy. Like, if we do a horror series or a good horror film, I think he'd be the guy to bring in. And Michael Hadgen, who I mentioned before,
of course, the effervescent.
He's just, he's the man. What else can we discuss here, bro?
I guess one of the things that's worth mentioning is that we're not looking, we touched on it earlier, we're not looking at definitive opinions on things. We're about creating a discussion and a conversation about a film. And one thing that I've done plenty of times is change my mind about a film. I haven't liked it the first time. I've loved it the fifth time. Some films you need to persist with. But it's an evolving idea. It's a conversation about film. Obviously, each film we will give a rating to or a ranking out of 5 or whatever it's going to be. And we'll definitely give our opinions. But we're also open to the idea of changing it. And I'm quite happy to change my opinion about a film while discussing it on the podcast, because that's what film should be about. It's a shared event in some respects. And so we don't want to lock in. I think it's dangerous if you see a film and just lock into a very solid idea. I hate this film and that's it. It's like, well, why do you hate it? And, you can stay away from that genre or whatever, but let's be a little bit more open. I think it'll be an interesting part of the discussion. We're still going to give recommendations because that's what you want, but it'd be nice to just have that open flow, I think, conversation.
Well, maybe that leads really nicely into what you brought up today as one of your ideas for one of the segments on the show, bro.
The assignment.
The assignment, I really like it.
Which does, it sounds a little bit too much like a Police Academy sequel. But so the assignment is we'll probably once per episode we'll send one of the team out to watch a film they wouldn't normally watch or a genre of film they wouldn't normally watch and just challenge them to come back with a positive review. They can obviously have some negative comments. There's a reason why people like certain genres of film, and if it's not a genre you're into, it'd be interesting to find out if you can discover those reasons and find some positives to say.
Like if you asked me to go see any Michael Bay film.
Yeah, and look, it's hard to find any positives in any Michael Bay films. Although, when he does those helicopter tracking shots, they are pretty special. Like, usually they're irrelevant, but they're, he does love a good helicopter shot.
Do you think he tries to beat himself every movie with how many explosions he can get in?
I'm sure as well? Michael Bay is beating himself. His whole career has been one big beat of himself.
Exactly.
But the thing is that Michael Bay, it's irrefutable. He's a moneymaker, and cinema is a business. So there must be some redeeming features.
Absolutely.
In his films. There must be something people get out of them. I'm not sure.
Through gritted teeth, even I can say that.
So we're going to send Adam at some point off to see a Michael Bay film. And it might kill him, but we'll see. We're open to that. We'll see what happens. We're happy to risk his life.
For the good of the podcast.
That's right.
That's what it's all about.
It's all about.
So yeah, I'm sure we'll have traditional 5-star review systems
of course.
For all guests on the show. And this is one of your ideas as well, Brose, was the sum up the film in one sentence idea.
I just find with some reviews, especially film reviews, conversation or the opinion can just be a little bit spread out. It's like, give me one reason why I should go and see this film, or sum up why I should see the film in one sentence is a lot more effective than me having to read 300 or 400 words. You read some reviews and they seem quite negative, and then it gets a 4-star out of 5, and you're like, well, hang on, why is it 4 stars? So just link that back to why you liked the film or didn't like the film, what the ranking is for it, and just sum it up in one sentence.
Definitely. And also, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Metacritic reviews are interesting as well, because sometimes it can be really misleading, as in, a film that can get reviewed very well can have a very, very low score on something like Rotten Tomatoes, meaning that
Exactly.
for people that don't know how the review system works, it's all available online reviews. It's sort of all aggregated together to create a percentage. And then I think if it's over 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, it's rated as a fresh, like,
as a good film.
A good film. Or rotten if it's under 70%, meaning that overall not as many reviewers have found it to be... they haven't written anything positive about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so the would you recommend at the end of each review, I think, would be good. It means, this could be linked into that sentence idea of yours,
right.
But is it worth people seeing this
these
movie?
days, more and more, it's about choosing what to spend your money on. Cinema tickets can cost over $20 these days for a film. And that's a lot of money to spend every weekend or every second weekend.
Not to mention if you take the family out and then you go to the candy bar and buy them
Who
stuff
can
as well.
resist the delicious candy bars? There's so many scrumptious things. It can cost $50 or $60 to go and see a film. So is it worth seeing? And in addition to that, is it worth seeing at the cinema? Because maybe there are films out there that are great but are worth watching on your 50-inch LED TV and not at the cinema.
Yep.
And that's something the movie industry needs to respond to, I suppose. But I get sick of people just saying blockbusters you have to see at the cinema and then small, quiet indie films are okay on Blu-ray. It's like, maybe not. Maybe there is an exception to that rule. So.
Definitely. And I guess as well, if we are delving into the vintage vault here as well, why is a film still worth watching?
Absolutely.
Is a good point to touch upon as well. So,
and we have a couple of good repertory cinemas in Melbourne, so we'll definitely be pointing you towards those if there's something that you should just catch at a cinema, especially from the vintage vault.
And some of these places really do need all the help they can get as well.
That's
so
true.
if we can create a little bit more awareness for something like the Astor, that'd be definitely the way to go.
Absolutely.
Let's hope that this show gets a bit of momentum so that we can create sort of a bit of a movie news show from a very Australian perspective as well. It'd be really nice to come at it from the angle of something very local. I think that's definitely a big selling point for me with this show. So if we could bring you some very relevant movie news of the week and the like, that'd be something which would be really good. And as well, I think we'd like to have a real conscious effort to tie in selected shows with something of relevance to the present, which is why I guess it's probably a good time to reveal that two of the pilot episodes that we're going to do, Brose, is Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2. Now,
I can't believe we're doing a whole episode on Ghostbusters 2. That
right?
just seems excessive.
But you see, the simple fact that you even brought that up right there is part of the whole appeal for me to do Ghostbusters.
You know, there's a whole generation of people that think Ghostbusters 2 is just an extra on the DVD for Ghostbusters. Like it's a bonus feature. They don't realise it was a real film. But it's not just Gutenberg. There are other people confused by Ghostbusters 2.
That's it. But unless you've sort of worked it out already, Bros, another reason why I think Ghostbusters... Let's just focus on Ghostbusters for now. Why it will be a good episode 1 is because Ghostbusters is a big part of how you and me actually met.
That's true.
Do you want to tell the story just quickly so people can know a little bit about that, or is that something we're going to leave for down the track?
Oh, we'll leave it for down. Oh, we can leave it for down the track. We had an almost religious experience in New York, and it was to do with Ghostbusters. But let's leave it at that for now.
Yeah, so in regards to social media, I'm really going to try and get it out there. Obviously, most podcasts are downloaded on iTunes, but finding its way onto Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and all these necessities these days is quite vital to a show's success these days. So probably going to do about 4 or 5 pilot episodes that we're just going to record and sort of put out there. And then judging on the response and feedback that we get, we'll hopefully be able to bring the show to you a bit more regularly, which is the idea.
Nice.
So we'll see what happens. We'll put it out there in the big bad world, and we'll see what sort of interest we can generate.
Probably wraps things up.
Definitely.
For 0.0.
Yep. Thanks, Brose. Always a pleasure, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Adam.
Speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.
Stay in touch with us by visiting realchat.com.au. Check us out on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter @RealChatPodcast, Instagram real_chat_podcast. And if you haven't already, catch up with past episodes and subscribe to new episodes on iTunes.